So yes, BCR Hip Hop Magazine. We here with the man Jesusgang Ali.
What a dude.
Cool, my brother. Appreciate this a lot. The first joint I ever heard from you, man. I mean, it was real. I listened to you. I said, man, this dude here, his mind is like in the zone. You dig?
Yeah, that's true. I ain't know. That's true.
Yeah. So
That's true.
how you end up there, man? I mean, like, cause all us born to the planet, you know what I'm saying, and everybody mind don't end up in the zone.
Yeah. You know what? Like, the Bible talks about it a lot about how, when God chooses His own, like it talks a lot about how He closes the ears. He closes the ears of some people on purpose, like purposely. Because there are actors on the other side who, in order for the divine plan to come to fruition, you need both sides struggling against each other. You know what I mean? So he purposely closed the eyes and the ears and the hearts of some people because it's their destiny to work for the other side. And I think it's the same way that it's some people's destiny to work for the other side is when God picks His own. The Quran say, Allah guides whom He will to a straight path. So I don't want to take credit for it. I was born into a family. I was raised by people who were how do I put it? Who carried the light. I was raised by enlightened people in the Sons of Widows, and I was given a perspective that most children weren't. Like I was never really a kid, you know what I mean? So I just think from day one, God He been ordering the steps or whatever, and I got to a point in my life where I said I'm going to study the holy books for myself.
Yeah.
And I was very young when I decided that. So I sat down and I read the entire Bible by myself. I'm almost done with the Quran now, reading it, cover to cover. But what happens is you start once you read it for yourself, you start to ask yourself questions about the way that the people who run religion are teaching what's in that book, because in actuality, these are science books. The people don't realize that your brain is the most sophisticated computer on Earth.
Right.
In existence. Your body is the most sophisticated machine in existence. All other computers and machines are built as mimicries of systems that exist, within our bodies, in our minds. And people, they need to realize that these books were written as if your brain is a computer, your religion is your operating system. The same way, our iPhones download iOS 7 and then iOS 8 and iOS 9. It's actual operating systems for your brain. It affects the way that you quantify the things that you encounter in reality. So I think once, being raised the way that I was, and then, always having like a special sensitivity to it. And then when I decided I was going to find out for myself, that was it, and then, the journey started, and I ended up here.
No doubt. Since you've been doing your own studying and going through the different books of the operating system, are there books that you find to be your favorites?
Yes. It's not necessarily favorites. Like, how it's the same thing about art. You know how, like, you could be at a certain place at a certain time and read a thing or hear a song or whatever the case may be, and it doesn't affect you the way it does 5 years later. You know what I mean? Like it's just the timing of it. I really love the book of Proverbs, though.
No doubt.
Like my favorite verse so far in the Bible or the Quran is Proverbs 16:2, where it says, all a man's ways seem innocent to him, but his motives or his heart, depending on the translation that you go by, but his motives or his heart are weighed by the Lord. And so, because I talk to people all the time about how your spiritual intent behind a thing is what is important. Like that's what matters, your spiritual intent, which is why you can't just go sit in church every Sunday and go to heaven. You know what I mean? Or you can't go to the mosque every Friday and pray. You pray 25 times a day. Like if the way that you operate in your life does not lead people, to want to know the God that you know, then what you're doing is, you know what I mean? Like that's not getting you nowhere. You're not getting credit for that because you're not doing things with the proper intent or whatever. So I just think, and then, it gets deeper than that, as far as our spiritual intentions, because people don't realize that, it is our will that bends reality. We've been given that power. And, I tell people all the time about the experiment that I came across, and I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. I forget the lab's name, the name of the experiment, but they got some Buddhist monks. They got a group of Buddhist monks to all sit around in a circle. Right. And they took, I think, like 100 samples. They took an eyedropper and they dropped, dropped one drop of water on each little slide or whatever. And then they froze them and, made snowflakes out of them. And when they made snowflakes out of them, each snowflake is, we're taught in school that each snowflake is unique, which is not necessarily true scientifically, but they do all have their own individual variations off of certain blueprints or whatever. So they came out and they were beautiful or whatever, but then they took the same amount of water and they had these monks pray and just send positive energy towards that water for a set period of time. And then they did the 100 drops again, okay, out of that water. The snowflakes that came out of that were so beautiful that they actually ended up being used in advertisements in subways. Like the little kiosk pictures that they have, with the billboards and the banners and all of that while you're waiting for the train.
No doubt.
Like they actually ended up being used as it was like somebody purposefully designed them. Mm-hmm. So our group intent is actually shaping our reality, which is why, I guess you would say the powers that be, that's why they take such pain and care to make sure that they control what we want. Because what we want as a group, and black women in particular, what we want becomes reality. The things that we like, that we desire, gain value in this reality. Like, a diamond is just a rock on the ground. Like I got a friend, my man, his father from Sierra Leone, and his father said they used to kick rocks around on the ground. They were just shiny rocks to them. They had no idea. He said all the time, if he had known, he'd be a rich man right now.
Right.
But the minute that a guy got smart enough to put that on a black woman's finger or put it in her jewelry, and she said, I like this, and she wore it, and her friends saw it and said, you know what, I like that. I want that now. At the point that enough of those black women said, I like that, I want that shiny rock on my finger, I want that in my jewelry, this, that, and the other. At that point, the man who was smart enough, the first nigga who was smart enough to scoop up all them shiny rocks off the ground and take them all to his house in a big sack, he rich. His family's rich right now. Yeah. And it's all because of what black women want. Period. Like, so, yeah, that's I would say that's my favorite. I know that's a long, convoluted answer, but
everything cool, man.
I hope I did it good job tying it together.
Well, yeah, no doubt. Everything was supposed to be.